My wife's birthday puzzle gift turned our marriage into a year-long argument. Last year for my birthday, I was sitting at our worn kitchen table, still bleary-eyed from another night of interrupted sleep with our youngest, when Sarah, my wife, came bouncing in with a wrapped package. The kids were all upstairs, miraculously occupied with their morning cartoons, which was unusual enough to make me suspicious. Usually, our house is chaos central by 7 a.m., with our 5 kids, Tommy, 12, the twins Emma and Lily, 9, Jack, 7, and little Sophie, 3, creating their own special brand of mayhem. "Happy birthday, Mike," Sarah exclaimed, placing a rectangular package in front of me. It was wrapped in paper covered with cartoon balloons, likely left over from Sophie's birthday party last month. I could tell she was excited, practically vibrating with anticipation as she watched me unwrap it. I carefully peeled back the paper, mostly because I knew it drove Sarah crazy when I didn't just rip into presents. Inside was a puzzle box, showing what looked like a generic London cityscape. Big Ben, the London Eye, Tower Bridge, all the tourist favorites were there, though something seemed off about the perspective, making it look slightly abstract. "A puzzle?" I asked, trying to sound more enthusiastic than I felt. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy puzzles, but with 5 kids, finding time and space to complete one is about as likely as finding a quiet moment in our house. "You have to put it together," Sarah insisted, already clearing space on the kitchen table by shoving aside the breakfast dishes and various art projects the kids had left scattered around. I glanced at the clock. It was my birthday, so I figured I could be a little late to work. "Right now?" "Yes, right now. The kids are occupied, and I've already called your office to tell them you'll be in late." That was Sarah all over, making executive decisions about my schedule without consulting me. Usually, it drove me nuts, but today I decided to roll with it. After all, she seemed so excited about this puzzle. As I opened the box and started sorting edge pieces, Sarah hovered nearby, occasionally offering helpful suggestions about where pieces might go. Anyone who's ever done a puzzle with someone who isn't actually helping knows exactly how annoying this can be, but I bit my tongue. The image slowly came together. It was indeed London, but something about it seemed deliberate in its vagueness, like a dream version of the city. It took about 2 hours, during which the kids came down one by one, attracted by the unusual quiet in the kitchen. Tommy immediately lost interest when he realized it wasn't a video game. The twins argued about who got to place the best pieces. Jack tried to stick pieces together that clearly didn't fit, and Sophie attempted to eat one. Typical morning at our house, really. Finally, the last piece clicked into place. The completed puzzle showed a slightly impressionistic view of London, with the familiar landmarks blending into each other in a way that made it hard to focus on any one thing. "Now flip it over," Sarah practically squealed. "Flip it over?" I looked at her like she'd lost her mind. "The whole puzzle?" "Yes. I'll help." She was already sliding her hands under one edge. With much maneuvering and a few close calls where pieces nearly came apart, we managed to flip the entire puzzle over. There, written across the back in what looked like permanent marker, was the word surprise in Sarah's distinctive loopy handwriting. I stared at it, waiting for enlightenment. "Okay. Don't you get it?" Sarah was practically bouncing now. "Not really, no. I'm taking you to London," she announced triumphantly. "To see Arsenal play." My heart actually skipped a beat. Arsenal, my team since I was 12 years old, watching matches with my British grandfather on fuzzy satellite TV. I'd never seen them play in person, never been to the Emirates Stadium. It was literally a dream come true. Then reality started seeping in. "When?" I asked, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Well, that's the thing," Sarah said, still beaming. "I know how particular you are about your work schedule, so I thought you should choose the dates." I nodded slowly. "Okay. And what about the tickets? Both for the match and the flights?" "Oh, I figured you'd handle all that," she said breezily. "You're so much better at organizing these things than I am." I felt a headache coming on. "Sarah, honey. Have you looked at flight prices to London recently?" "Not really," she admitted. "But I know you've always wanted to go." "And the match tickets? They're not easy to get, especially for big games." "Well, no, I haven't actually looked into that either," she said, her smile faltering slightly. "But you know all about that stuff." "And who's going to watch the kids?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "I thought maybe your mom." She trailed off, probably remembering that my mother had recently started her own business and barely had time to babysit for our occasional date nights, let alone a week-long international trip. "So, just to be clear," I said, trying to keep my voice level as Sophie tried to climb into my lap, sticky fingers and all. You're giving me permission to plan and pay for an international trip for both of us? When you say it like that, it sounds bad, Sarah pouted. I'm giving you the gift of an amazing experience. I looked around our kitchen, at the aging appliances that needed replacing, at Jack's shoes that were starting to show holes, at the pile of bills carefully tucked under a magnet on the fridge. Honey, you know we can't afford this right now. You always say that, she sighed. Sometimes you have to splash out a little. Live a little. This from the woman who had never had to balance our checkbook or figure out how to stretch my salary to cover 5 growing kids' needs. Don't get me wrong, Sarah works harder than anyone I know, keeping our house running and our kids alive and mostly happy. But when it comes to financial realities, she's always lived in something of a dream world. The next few months were a dance of avoidance around the gift. Every time Sarah would mention it, usually when she saw Arsenal playing on TV, I'd change the subject or suddenly remember an urgent task that needed doing. I did look into prices, late at night when everyone was asleep. The cheapest flights I could find were still over $1,000 each. Match tickets, if we could even get them, would be hundreds more. Then there was accommodation, food, transportation in London. It was easily a $5,000 trip, minimum. I tried explaining this to Sarah once, showing her the numbers on my laptop, but her eyes glazed over as soon as I started talking about exchange rates and booking windows. But it's your birthday gift, she kept saying, as if that somehow made the money appear magically in our account. Then came the guilt trips. Small at first, a sigh here, a pointed comment there. Wouldn't it be amazing to be there right now? She'd say during matches. Or she'd leave travel magazines open to articles about London, casually strewn around the house. She even got the kids involved, though unintentionally. Tommy, after hearing her talk about it, asked me why we never went on cool trips like his friend Jake's family, who seemed to be constantly jetting off to exotic locations, conveniently ignoring the fact that Jake's dad was a successful surgeon and his mom had family money. Work wasn't helping either. Every time I thought I might have a window where I could take some time off, something would come up. A major client would need attention, a deadline would get moved up, or someone else in my department would already have those dates blocked off. And each time I had to tell Sarah it wouldn't work, her disappointment became more pointed. You know, she said one night, after the kids were in bed and we were doing our usual dance of her watching TV while I paid bills, if you really wanted to go, you'd find a way to make it work. I felt something snap inside me. Maybe it was the fact that I'd just finished calculating how much we needed to set aside for new winter coats for the twins, or maybe it was the way she said it, with that mixture of martyrdom and accusation that she'd perfected over the years. Sarah, I said, closing my laptop, we need to talk about this birthday gift. She muted the TV, giving me that look that meant she was preparing to be patient with my obvious foolishness. What about it? It's not actually a gift, I said bluntly. Of course it is. It's the trip of a lifetime. No, I corrected her, it's permission to spend money we don't have on something I can't afford. That's not a gift. I don't understand why you're being so negative about this, she said, her voice taking on that wounded tone that usually made me back down. Not this time. Let me explain what a gift is, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. A gift is something you actually give to someone. You know, like how I got you that spa day for your birthday? I didn't just tell you that you could go to a spa if you wanted to, I actually booked it and paid for it. That's completely different, she protested. This is much bigger. Exactly my point. You've given me permission to spend thousands of dollars we don't have, while taking time off work that I can't take, to arrange childcare we don't have access to, also we can do something that, while amazing, is completely impractical right now. So you're saying you don't appreciate the thought? Her lower lip was actually trembling now. I sighed, feeling like I was trying to explain advanced calculus to Sophie. The thought would have been lovely if it had come with any actual planning or preparation. But you didn't do any of that. You just gave me a puzzle and an impossible task. I was trying to be spontaneous and romantic, she insisted. I thought you'd be excited. I was excited. For about 30 seconds, until I realized that all the actual work and cost of this gift would fall on me. Do you have any idea how much this trip would cost? We could put it on the credit card. She suggested, not for the first time. The credit card we're still paying off from Christmas? The one that already has a balance that keeps me up at night? That credit card? You never want to do anything fun anymore, she accused, tears welling up in her eyes. You've become so boring and practical. Being boring and practical is what keeps this family afloat, I pointed out. Someone has to think about these things. I think about things. She protested. I'm the one who makes sure everyone has clean clothes and food to eat and gets to their activities on time. I know you do, I said, trying to soften my tone. But this isn't about that. This is about you giving me a gift that's actually just a huge financial burden and then making me feel guilty for not being able to make it happen. She stood up abruptly, grabbing tissues from the box on the coffee table. I was just trying to do something special for you, she said, her voice thick with tears. I didn't realize I needed a financial plan and a PowerPoint presentation to give my husband a birthday present. With that, she stormed upstairs, leaving me sitting there with my laptop full of spreadsheets and bills. I could hear her sniffling dramatically as she got ready for bed, making sure I knew just how hurt she was by my lack of appreciation for her generous gift of permission to spend money we didn't have. The next morning, she gave me the silent treatment over breakfast, which was actually kind of peaceful compared to her usual morning chatter. The kids picked up on the tension, of course, they always do. Tommy asked if we were fighting, the twins whispered to each other and gave me reproachful looks, Jack tried to make peace by offering me his half-eaten toast, and Sophie, bless her heart, just demanded more juice, completely oblivious to the emotional drama playing out over the Cheerios. That was 6 months ago, and she still brings it up whenever she wants to make a point about my lack of spontaneity or adventure. Last week, she was watching a travel show about London and made sure to sigh extra loudly when they showed the Emirates Stadium. Just think, she said to no one in particular, we could have been there by now if someone wasn't so focused on being practical all the time. I've learned to just let these comments slide off my back. The puzzle is still in its box, tucked away in the hall closet behind the board games we never have time to play. Sometimes I think about taking it out, just to see if that vague London scene looks any different now. But I know if I did, Sarah would take it as a sign that I was finally ready to appreciate her gift and the whole cycle would start again. The irony is, if she had put even half the energy into actually planning this trip that she's put into making me feel guilty about not making it happen, we might have been able to work something out. We could have started a savings plan, looked into cheaper times to travel, maybe even found some package deals. But that would have required actual effort and planning, rather than just the grand gesture of giving me permission to figure it all out myself. Last night, she was scrolling through Facebook and saw that her cousin had surprised her husband with a weekend trip to Vegas. See? She said pointedly. Some people appreciate it when their spouse plans something special. I started to point out that her cousin and her husband are both successful lawyers with no kids, but thought better of it. Instead, I just nodded and went back to helping Tommy with his math homework, while mentally calculating how many more months it would take to pay off the credit card at our current rate. The puzzle pieces of our London dream are still scattered, metaphorically speaking, and I'm apparently the only one expected to put them together. Some gift, right? But at least it's given me a great story to tell, even if I'm the only one who sees the humor in it. And who knows? Maybe by our 25th anniversary, I'll have saved enough for those match tickets. Though by then, knowing my luck, Arsenal will probably have been relegated to League Two. For now, I'll just keep doing what I've always done, being the boring, practical one who makes sure the bills get paid and the kids have what they need. And if that means I have to endure the occasional passive-aggressive sigh or pointed comment about my lack of appreciation for thoughtful gifts, well, I suppose that's just the price of being a responsible adult. Though sometimes, late at night when I'm balancing the checkbook, I do find myself wondering if maybe I should give Sarah a similar gift for her next birthday, perhaps permission to remodel the kitchen she's always complaining about. After all, it's the thought that counts, right?